And I think it also goes both ways, just working with any regular seller as well. When you come from a point of, you know what, let me deliver value to you, let me share with you how I can help you, and not so much, I can sell your house. You know, a question that I always get, a lot of agents, newer agents are like, we know that foreclosures and short sales are coming. How can we start preparing ourselves, or what do we need to learn to be able to help clients in those difficult situations when that time comes?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I've been getting that a lot too, obviously, because people can see the kind of writing on the wall of what's happening. And I think the best advice I can give to agents that are trying to learn and trying to prepare is understand what the homeowner's options are. Like, if you want to be a resource, you don't need to be the expert in the sense where you know every detail, right? You just need to know like the basics. Like, okay, if a homeowner is in foreclosure, what options do they have? They have a loan modification, they can do a short sale, they can just sell the house if they have equity. Like, there's something for everyone depending on their situation, right? So I think it's very important as agents to help them reach the best outcome for them. And 99.9% of the time, the best outcome is to sell, because the further they are behind, the more they lose equity. And if they don't, if they drag it out, which a lot of people do, unfortunately, they lose all of their equity to the bank, and that's how they end up in a short sale situation. We have seen payoffs, like we always save the crazy ones, but people don't understand like how it's possible for the bank to charge that much, or that it's even possible at all. We have payoffs, like we had one, I think it was like last week, it's in my email, where the original balance, right? So like your original mortgage that you got, it was 200,000, and the payoff right now is 385,000. 385,000. That is insane. So $185,000 more than what you originally purchased. And that's how they end up in these situations, because the bank's fees are absolutely ridiculous. So when they're doing loan modifications, they're not forgiving the debt, they're just adding to that balance. So when you explain to the sellers, especially the sellers that are now in foreclosure because they're not in forbearance anymore, and that time has, now expired, they've been for a whole year, they haven't been paying, and now they've got to deal with the situation. Now it's like, okay, well, long-term, is your hardship long-term, right? If they still don't have income, the best thing they can do is cash out now. Cash out, try to get, capitalize on their equity instead of losing it to the bank. So as an agent, when you're talking to them, being able to walk them through that is so important, because the banks are never going to explain that, right? The banks are only going to tell them one side of it that benefits the banks. Of course, the banks want the sellers to do loan modifications. They get to charge things like $185,000. Like, they're a financial institution. Like, doing a loan modification means that the homeowner is now current and they get to charge more. That's a win for them. But we need to look out for the homeowners. Like, that's our job. So being able to, be a resource for homeowners is going to be huge. And even honestly, marketing now, like now as we're making this video, in May of 2021, starting now before everybody starts doing it is what's going to set you apart. Like, hey, do you need help? Like, let me just help you. And not as our salesperson, right? Like, not a salesperson hat. We take that off and we say, hey, how can we genuinely help you? Because that's really what it is. Like, these people are in the worst time of their lives. They're losing their home. Like, how can you be a resource for the community as a professional? And I promise when you do that, you will build rapport every single time. And 99% of the time, you will get that client, because that client is going to be able to trust you that you're looking out for their best interests.
Yeah. And I think it also goes both ways, just working with any regular seller as well. When you come from a point of, you know what, let me deliver value to you, let me share with you how I can help you, and not so much, I can sell your house, this is how much I can get for it. Then they see that, okay, she seems like a very genuine person that can help me in my situation, is going to make the entire process stress-free or not as difficult, because some of them are relocating to another state, some of them are older folks. So yeah, just like you mentioned, at the end of the day, when you come from a sense of, you know what, I want to help someone, then it's more likely for them to want to work with you and even send you repeat business and tell everyone about the great experience they had with you.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you can attest to this with cold calling. When you become a solution to their problem, instead of focusing on you, less about you and more about them, you don't have to worry about scripts. You don't have to worry about anything. Like, you need to figure out what the problem is so you can provide a solution, because people really don't care what you know. People care about getting their problem fixed. So as an agent, most agents are so terrified, like, well, I don't know, I don't have the accolades, I haven't sold a million houses. And I'm like, well, the sellers don't care. The sellers care, can you help them with their problem? Like, you know, they don't care if you're on the phone with a homeowner and you're trying to cold call and you won't shut up about yourself, about how you're the top agent. They're going to be like, okay, great, sounds like you just want to make money, I gotta go, I'm not interested. Like, their wall is always going to be up. But when you change that, you know, dynamic or that conversation to, hey, tell me what's going on, like, how can I help? It completely changes the dynamic of the conversation, and it gets their wall down and their guard down so that they can actually have that conversation with you. And I'm sure that's the same thing that you do, because you get so many deals where you just kind of just listen,
exactly,
you know, instead of talking. That's what people do. I see so many agents, especially like in my mentorship group, we'll do cold calling. We'll do cold calling on some of the weeks, and they'll talk, and I'm like, you are talking this person out of it. You're literally talking them out of it. Shut up. Let them speak. Do you see that too?
Yeah, we see that too. And even with newer agents, something that I see is that whenever they hear a pause or the other person is not saying anything, they want to continue talking. And I tell them, no, let there be an awkward pause that you think is awkward, because at that point they're thinking, and if you said something, now we want to hear what they're going to respond. The less you talk, the better, because they're going to eventually open up to you and they're going to tell you their entire situation. And then from there, you're going to be able to figure out what is the best way that you can help them, or maybe not help them, or maybe you can direct them to someone else that can be a solution for them.
Yeah, I see so many agents that are just so focused on, like, I just need a script, I don't know what to say. I'm like, it's a conversation. So just talk to them, figure out what's going on. It's actually very simple. You don't have to be the expert. You just need to talk to them to figure out have a dialogue with them, and, you know, see if you can even help them. So I think that's super important. I think a lot of agents just completely miss the boat when it comes to that, because they automatically, I don't know where, when we got our license, we were taught like that, to be that used car salesman, you know? But just stop, just stop.
It's just all about listening and knowing when to say certain things. And I think another important thing is always being in control of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Knowing where to take it depending on what people are telling you.
Yeah, I say driving the bus. Like, you have to drive the bus. You have to be the person, because if you can direct the conversation, you're the one with the power of, hey, this is what, instead of asking, you're like, so this is what we're going to do.
Exactly.
We're going to meet tomorrow. You're going to sign this. You know what I mean?
That's pretty much what I do when I'm talking to these sellers or even the buyers. I say, okay, so it sounds like our game plan is going to be this, this, and this. That way, you know exactly how everything's going to happen.
And that's so powerful.
They're like,
that's so powerful, because when someone hears that, they're like, oh, okay, I guess they don't even think about, oh, I guess I'm working with you. They're like, okay, I'm working with you.
You always have to already assume. I'd rather them tell me, you know what, I'm going to wait. Because then the best thing that can happen is like, okay, perfect. Like, when do we meet, or where do we take it from here?
I would always tell that to my agents when I would do like training. I would tell them, I'm like, you have to just, it's all sales language. Right. And it's part of driving the bus. And like you're saying, like, being in control of the conversation, of telling them, like, not asking them, but making them almost give you a verbal commitment. Like, before I hang up the phone, I'm like, okay, so we're in agreement that tomorrow at 10 a.m. we're going to meet and you're going to bring your financials. Yes. Okay, great. So just confirming, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Awesome. So I'm going to send you this email, and then, you know, and so I make them repeat it back to me. And there's that commitment is so powerful, because now they're like, oh crap, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Like, instead of just being like, see you later, you know, and leaving that door open. Don't treat anything casually. Like, you're the professional. So if you're directing the conversation, they're not going to take you seriously unless you're like, hey, like, this is my time, you know, like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and you're going to commit to showing up and, you know, being present and all that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I tell the agents in my office. I tell them, look, if you set an appointment, the seller has to know that you're going there because you're going to either decide whether or not you're going to work with each other. It's not
Yeah.
like we're going to have a chit chat and drink some tea. Like, we're not there for that. We're going to be there for business. And you have to make it clear to them so that they know the intention as well. Because if not, these homeowners think that you're just going over for like a consultation. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's just a waste of time.
I mean, think about it. It's so true. I remember when I first started, I remember I had a seller, or no, it was a buyer. And he's like, I just need you to open doors for me. Like, I just want to look around. I'm like, what is this? Like a furniture store where I'm like, here, let's try it out. Like, get out of here. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But there really is a public perception of like, hey, yeah, you've got nothing better to do than just, opening some doors for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, but we have to change that. Like, and that's the difference between agents that are just so eager and they're actually running it as a business or not, and letting buyers, drag them around, or
Exactly.
sellers that just want to drink coffee with them and because they're bored,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's why pre-qualifying is key all the time with whoever it is that you're working with.